Yeah, I think initially we wanted to go with a definitely more youthful, high potential towards the end of the season roster. I mean, definitely like the roster could have looked very different at the start of the year, but I'm not going to attribute everything to the roster construction because that would just be, insanity and unfair.
Hello everyone, it's a Thursday night here in Berlin and I'm joined by Joe, the general manager of Misfits Gaming, and today we're gonna hear his side of things on what kind of went down this year. 8th place and 9th place in spring and summer respectively. Not convincing results, of course, especially after the previous years. Once again missing out on Worlds. What in your mind, was there any key factor that you would point to, this went wrong this year, or was it just a culmination of so many things that just caused this to happen?
Well, I think the best place to start is the beginning, and I think, I can definitely just kind of shed some light on the construction of the initial roster.
Right.
I think initially we had a different direction that we wanted to go in. So we made commitments with that in mind. And then the opportunity to get the players we did arose. And with certain other factors in place for a different direction we wanted to take, we then committed to this other roster, right? So I think that was the start of it. I think we all dropped the ball for sure on the initial roster construction. But I think as well, there wasn't necessarily consistency among all of the management as far as how the roster was going to shape out, especially with, the change in direction during the off season.
And the change in direction in the off-season between 2018 and 2019 or spring and summer?
I'm talking about 2018.
Okay, still 2018.
The whole season. We're talking about the whole season. Yeah. I don't think there was consistency across all of us, so we're definitely all to blame. And I think what came together in the end was a bit of a combination of different ideas and not one collective agreement. Mm-hmm. And that's obviously something we're going to learn from, and we won't make that mistake going forward. Okay,
fair. Now, obviously in spring there was the opportunity at one point during the off season to potentially relegate the main roster for the academy one, right? Some people were even suggesting that at least certain players from the academy team after winning EU Masters should be put on the main team. You guys go into the split announcing the 10-man roster, and then there were slight changes happening with Maxlor. I remember, and Leader got a game or two against G2, and then after week 4, when it was almost kind of too late, arguably, the entire academy team got subbed in. I remember vividly saying back then that I didn't think that, I thought that the decision came too late compared to, for example, Rogue, who just after spring said, okay, well, we're going to change everything. What was some of the decision making going into summer, and why did the decision making seem so up and down? You never really knew, hey, was Maxwell going to play or not? Was Leader going to play or not? Was Verbiven going to play? There was a lot of confusion from the fans as well. Was that something that you look back on and go, okay, this is something we need to fix for the upcoming season?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'd like to say I'm very proud of the academy system this year. We obviously worked within the regional rules, definitely to the fullest extent. We created a very good team which were dominant in EU Masters after the online stage, definitely offline dominant. We had 5 players who went on to play LEC at some point in the year. And I think what needs to be understood is when you're in a franchise model, the priority does always need to be the LEC, right? And obviously results were not going too well for us. There were definitely discussions of moving those guys up after EU Masters, but again, because there was no collective agreement, that didn't happen mid-season. I'm not going to say that all 5 would have necessarily, but there was definitely discussion for a significant, portion of that roster to play in the LEC. And then I guess that would kind of bring me to the latter point in the split where we did eventually change. The guys were started with a 2-6 handicap, right? And they were actually 1 game away from making playoffs in the end, or I think 2 games with a tiebreaker or something. I think they were outside. Yeah. But
to be fair, we also had Rogue going to playoffs at 7-11 score, which hadn't happened before, so it was a special situation.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, the fact that they even got close, and definitely their results were a lot better with the limited amount of time that they had, was a very good indication for us as to the potential of those players. And they all have long-term commitments to the organization as well. So I think, going forwards, while I cannot say, what's going to happen next year, I think definitely the organization's in a very strong place because we have a lot of pieces with potential. And, I'd really like to commend them because, the players, because, they really stepped up when they were at a disadvantage, right? It's not hard to take that limelight. It's not hard to... it's hard. So it is hard to take to have that limelight. It is hard to take responsibility like that. And we were always very transparent with them as well. When we moved them up, I recall actually being in the room and just saying, "Hey guys, look, you're 2-6. Realistically, it's going to be very hard for you guys to make playoffs, especially with the amount of experience you have. But they beat Fnatic, they beat Splice." They beat Rogue as well. So they did definitely show glimmers, I'd say more than glimmers, of their potential. And I think for many of them it will be, achieving that consistency going forward as well. And, I'm very proud of what that group of players achieved under the circumstances that they did. While I'm not proud of, how decisions were made throughout the season, and I think we can all take responsibility as management and coaching staff within Misfits. I think there definitely shouldn't be a negative light on the players in any way. At least definitely the 5 who were put in that scenario.
Yeah, for sure. They've shown a lot of potential for sure. I think the end scoreline of the team was something like 4-6, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think so.
So, pretty decent for sure.
Yeah.
And if you get some more consistency going, if you can maybe enter the split with the same team, with the same teammates, then I definitely think it's possible for this team to achieve playoffs and potentially even more. We're of course going to see how the actual team is going to look like at the end of the year. But when you mentioned at the start the beginning of the year and how the super team was formed, we mentioned how that there were different directions, different people in the team building process wanted to go. Can you elaborate a bit on what the different visions were themselves? Was there a plan to, for example, get 2 Korean imports or no Korean import, or was there a plan to go for young talents over the veterans, for example, like that? What were some of the different visions that you mentioned?
Sorry. For sure. I think I can talk about it at this point, honestly. I think initially we wanted to go with a definitely more youthful, high potential towards the end of the season roster. That being said, I try not to carry regrets throughout my career, and I definitely built some very good and meaningful relationships with the players we had. It just the combinations of players that we had. wasn't optimal. Not to say that they aren't fantastic players. A lot of them have achieved a lot in their career. So I'm definitely disappointed how the season went. And yes, I mean, definitely like the roster could have looked very different at the start of the year, but I'm not going to attribute everything to the roster construction, because that would just be, insanity and unfair, honestly. But yeah, I definitely think there were a lot of different things we could have done throughout the season on our side. I think there were different things that the players could have done as well. And I think everyone involved in this season is very disappointed, and I think everyone will learn from this. I know I have, anyway.
Right, that's hopeful, of course. That's what you would expect as well. From a fan's perspective. Overall, was maybe the pressure at one point bigger than expected factor? Because obviously going into the season, a lot of people really hyped the Misfits roster. I had you guys in spring, I think, on 5th place. So I was playing it conservative, I remember. Yeah. And then like Frost Scorin had like a similar placement. Everyone else was like, no, 1st or 2nd, maybe 3rd place minimum. Then of course in week 4, I think the G2 versus Misfits rap battle was released, and all eyes seemed to be on one hand G2 with caps, on the other Fnatic, who had just lost caps, and then you guys with the super team, right? Was that maybe a bit, just too much attention for the guys?
No, I definitely wouldn't say it's too much attention. I mean, look at like the achievements of some of the guys, and these guys have played on the biggest stage, right? So it's not like it's any more than what they've dealt with in the past. I just think, we never really found that, first of all, a play style that worked together. And I think there were definitely some kind of social differences within the team as well. While I think everyone got along outside of game, I would definitely say not everyone got along inside of the game. And that, I think that caused a lack of identity for us, and we never found that one play style as a result of that. But yeah, I mean, I'd honestly say outside of game through the whole year, we had like a really, really good, social kind of atmosphere. Yeah. Definitely when no issues. I think all of them are still pretty close actually, but yeah, I just think people. I don't think anyone was really willing to compromise, and that combination caused what it did, which was a team without identity, or just a bunch of strong individuals without any kind of common goal or understanding of each other. Yeah.
Were there any pivotal moments where you would go, oh my goodness, if this specific game day or this specific team meeting would have gone a bit different, then hey, we could have maybe turned the ship around, but or was there just sometimes when problems arise, right? You sometimes get an actual decision, and sometimes they just keep on being there, and just more problems get on top of it, and it's just like an avalanche. You can't really stop it. You don't have anything in your power. If you were to reflect on the season from that perspective, what would be your call, if you will?
Yeah. I think the action we took in Summer Split could have definitely been done a little earlier. I think we just had a little stubbornness internally, and really wanted to make it work. And we honestly tried everything under the sun to make it work. And I think we really wanted to exhaust every option we could before we did resort to such drastic changes. And yes, it was too little, too late. And I definitely think we could have at least made playoffs if we made that change earlier. So that's maybe what I would tweak on that side. But I think definitely as like a learning experience, I'm glad that, I did go through this. I'm glad that my staff went through this as well, because I think this is something we will take forward with us for the rest of our careers. And I think this is nothing that any of us have like experienced before, where we actually do have like a very good like atmosphere outside of like the game, but we just have a lot of differences inside the game. It just shows that they don't necessarily always go hand in hand. I think definitely the way that League of Legends has like evolved now, as far as requiring versatility, you see majors in bot lane now, it's League of Legends is never like how it has been. I think, if we had a very like traditional past season, Worlds meta, I think we could have done like pretty well. But then again, like, you cannot build a team towards one meta or style. And I'm not saying that's what we did, but I definitely think we were not, we were not as open-minded as we could have been. And I think a lot of the players now that are coming through and like through the regional leagues are actually, shaping themselves to be players that do have that versatility, and they are not necessarily mastering one style or one type of champion, I just think it was a very good like learning experience. Would have loved to have made Worlds, of course, but I think the main thing is that we all learn from this. Right.
So, anything you would like to add or say towards the Misfits fans who've been supporting all year and have been active on social media and everything?
Yeah, I deep down really want to apologize. I take a lot of responsibility for how the season went. I know publicly a lot of people on the org side have as well. I think it definitely is a collective, it is collective responsibility of all of us. That being said, I think we do have a lot to look forward to. I think I'd also like to take this opportunity to announce that we are making a lot of changes internally on the competitive side, and I will not be directly responsible of League of Legends going forwards, which is definitely a hard pill for me to swallow, being involved as long as I have been, right, since pre-season 1. That being said, I'm still doing something very exciting, which I cannot talk about yet. We're doing a lot of exciting stuff internally. But I definitely want to apologize for the season, and I can assure you that the team that will be handling not only the construction of the roster, but also looking after the day-to-day of the guys going forwards will be doing things very differently.
Well, best of luck on your future endeavors, of course. You're still staying within the Misfits area, though? Okay, just right. to make that one clear. You've been, like, I saw pictures of you and, like, Phil from the SK Gaming days and stuff like that. So, like, you've been around for a while. If you check out Innerflame, of course, on Leaguepedia, you can get, like, a small overview.
Yeah, it's missing. That's missing a lot, and really? I've honestly procrastinated on adding a lot. And there's a lot of stuff online in kind of like pre-season 1 and like season 1, and then also even like early season 2. Stuff with like, really good teams that was just played on like, little crappy tournaments that happen every weekend. But like I don't want to name names, but like there were a lot of really amazing tournaments back then, which had like week in, week out, had like the best teams in the region. Sometimes even like TSM coming from like NA to play in EU as well. So yeah, you know, like I think there's a lot on there that's missing, and this isn't it for me in League of Legends for sure. I'll definitely be working with the people who are you know, responsible for League of Legends internally, but yeah, I will not be directly responsible.
Again, best of luck in the future. If you want to stay connected, of course, with Innerflame, make sure to follow him on Twitter as well. Check out his Leaguepedia page and add maybe a few things that you know of that is missing on his Leaguepedia. And would you like to add a hashtag for the people that watch until the end?
Hashtag trust the process. Trust the process, guys.
I was expecting an Arsenal one, but...
Hashtag come on you Gunners.
Either of the two is fine. Hashtag either trust the process or come on you Gunners. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, make sure to follow Innerflame Joe on Twitter. And this was it from Darius from the Shotcaller. I hope you guys had some more insights into what went down at Misfits over the year and how some of the decision making was made. We'll be seeing each other at Worlds. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye. We'd especially like to thank Krzysztof Bujnowicz, Erich Althaus, Lukas Legal, Lazy Raven, and Adam Novosviat for your continuous and very special support, and of course all the people whose names you see scrolling past you right now. We have a lot of amazing projects, and of course Worlds 2019 in Europe coming up, so thank you so much for supporting us and enabling us to do our work. Thank you.